Hey everyone, it's me, Matt. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing great, and I hope you're ready to hang out with me today because in today's video, we're gonna proactively clean up my front porch over here. As many of you know, I live in Florida, and September is right around the corner. And if you didn't know, September is also the peak of hurricane season. And while there aren't any active storms headed my way, I figured today we could proactively spruce up my front porch, groom my plants, and kind of tame the overall unruliness, if you will, so that in the event I'm in the crosshairs of a tropical system later on this season, my front porch is ready for storm prep. So let's get into it. So coming in for a closer look, you can see a lot of my plants are looking great, while others aren't looking too great, mainly this one over here, my white impatient plant over on the end. It's recovering from a fungal issue. It had completely defoliated a few weeks ago, but you can see it's put on some new growth, but I definitely want to groom this plant up today so that it'll look a little bit better as it continues to rebound. I also want to address my pothos plants here in the middle. They've vined out quite a bit and all their vines are pooling all over the porch. I want to cut those all off. That way these plants will be a little bit easier to manage. Like I said, in the event I have to do storm prep later on this season and move them off my patio. And then looking at my seasonal containers here, these are from Christmas. I've got the red and green coleus and the white impatient plants. These containers are well past their prime, so I want to get these ones cleaned up today as well. And when I say clean up these containers, I mean I want to completely remove these plants from these containers so that I can free them up for something new this fall. Also, I apologize for any background noise. There is some construction going on across the street. It looks like they're replacing some siding on this duplex. So turning back to today's tasks, I also wanted to take some time to cut back the sweet potato vines in my front porch seasonal flower bed here. You can see they've taken over. They're growing over my walkway, so I want to trim them back so that it's easier to walk through here. Earlier this spring, I planted up this flower bed with white salvias, which you can see are still going for it. There was some lavender sun patience as well as some superbena pink cashmere, which the pink cashmere, it's few and far between. They're still trying to poke through. You can see some of the pink flowers there. And then I've only got a couple of the sun patience left. You can see right here, they actually struggled with a lot of the direct sun. But overall, I'm so thrilled with the performance of this flower bed this season. So to start off this cleanup project, let's cut back these sweet potato vines. Then we'll get in here and we will remove everything off of my front porch. I'll move it over into the gravel area over here on the other side of my driveway. And then I'll get out my broom and we can sweep off everything. I'll probably have to get the hose to get some of this grime off the patio tiles or the porch tiles. I'll use the broom to knock down the cobwebs and we'll get the hose out here to kind of wash everything off. And then I've got a water and vinegar solution that I'm actually going to use to remove some of the, I guess this is mildew, in the tongue and groove joints on my ceiling here. That should really help clean this ceiling up. I'll also use it on the columns here. You can see there's a little bit of mildew as well. So let's get to it. So starting with cutting back the sweet potato vines, I've got my hand pruners here and some 70% isopropyl alcohol. I always suggest sanitizing your tools with isopropyl alcohol between plants to help stop the spread of disease. And actually, Becky commented, Becky, if you're watching, thank you. She commented on one of my past videos suggesting using a squirt bottle because she's seen me struggle with paper towels. The squirt bottle, it's really easy. You just spray your tools. I got this squirt bottle for a few dollars at Target. It's been a great tip and I really appreciate it, Becky. And also I apologize again for all the noise. We've got a saw going and a compressor and whatnot. It's gonna just be one of those days and hopefully you can stick with me in this video and it's not too much of an annoyance. So let's get in there now and cut back those sweet potato vines. So there we go. That was a really simple project. I cut everything back. I'll get in here in just a second and I'll clean all this up off camera. But you can see I've got kind of a harsh line here, but trust me, these sweet potato vines will rebound in a matter of days. They're gonna be growing back out over this pathway. I actually have to cut them back about once a week, once every 2 weeks. They are very vigorous. So let me get in here and clean this up. I'll sweep off the walkway a little bit as well, and then we will move on to clearing off the front porch. And then really quick, I almost forgot to mention, you can easily root sweet potato vine cuttings in water. I like to use the ends of the vines. You can see I've got 2 here. You just break off the leaves toward the bottom, exposing some of the leaf nodes. You can see I've got 2 leaf nodes on the bottom of each of these branches. Just stick the branches in water and they'll root in. I've had a ton of success doing this in the past. Actually, you can see here, this one already has some roots growing out of the leaf node. I'm not going to be rooting any of these today, but I wanted to let you know that that is an option. I, as you can tell, already have way too many sweet potato vines for my garden. Alrighty, all the trimmings have been cleaned up, and then I used my broom here to sweep off my walkway. You can see everything looks so much better. It's a night and day difference. So let's get in there now and clear off my front porch. So my front porch is all cleared off now. That was a lot more work than I expected. I had a lot of plants up here. You can see there is quite a mess still. I'm gonna sweep all this up off camera. I feel like that'd be really boring to watch, but I did wanna show you all. My front doormat tore apart when I went to lift it off the porch here. It's like the sticker on the back where the label was fused to the tile. I need to get a spatula or something to pry the rest of this off. It's crazy. And then also really quick, I don't know if I've ever shown her on camera, but I have a little black cat. She was a stray that I adopted about 10 years ago, and she's an indoor cat now, but she always keeps tabs on me whenever I'm doing projects. Sometimes you can see her, I don't know if anybody's ever noticed her in the windows. Sometimes she'll be here if I'm doing projects outside, or she'll sit up on the windowsill up here and watch. So anyways, let me quickly come in here and I'll sweep up, like I said, this patio off camera, and then we will move on to cleaning this whole area off. I'll get the hose out and that water and vinegar spray, that DIY cleaner that I made, and we'll tackle cleaning up the ceiling here and removing the cobwebs, and we'll try and get some of this mildew off here as well as the stuff on the columns. Okay, so the front porch is all swept off. It still looks a mess, but I'll get out here with a little bit of Dawn dish soap and water and really give this floor a good scrub. And then really quick, I also organized all of my plants off camera. Also, there's the chunk of the doormat that tore off, so I'm gonna have to throw this away. But I organized my plants over here, and these are the ones in the back here. These ones are gonna be completely removed. I'm gonna clear out the containers. These are the ones that are good to go. They don't need any trimming or grooming. And then all of these ones up here are the ones that I'm gonna pay a little attention to and really groom them to get them looking nice. And then I will also give all of this furniture here a good scrub. So let's clean off the porch now. We'll use the vinegar solution to remove the mildew, and we will take care of the tile floor. All right, so I think that's as good as I'm gonna get the tiles here. You can see it's looking a lot better, night and day difference. There is still a little bit of marks from where the pots were sitting, but I'm not worried about it. And then I did my best to get down as many of the cobwebs as I could. I think this looks a lot better. So now let's use that vinegar spray to try to remove some of this mildew. So this vinegar spray here, it's 1 part 5% distilled white vinegar to 2 parts water. And then I've got a terry cloth towel that I can use to scrub, as well as this. It's actually a tile grout brush, but I figured I could use this up here like that to really agitate some of that mold and mildew out. And I got this little cup that I can fill with water so that I can kind of rinse this brush as I use it. So let's get to tackling this next part of the project. So I'm gonna use this spray on the wide spray setting, and I'm just gonna spray everything, and I'm gonna let it sit for about 15 minutes to really let it soak in and get deep into that grime and mildew. And then I also wanted to mention, if you're spraying this near plants, vinegar can be deadly to plants, can kill them. So just be careful with your overspray. I'm gonna spray the columns with this, but I'm gonna spray from this side so that all the overspray is directed towards my house and away from the plants. If some gets on the plants, just be really good about hosing it off to really dilute it more. I'm not really concerned. The bulk of the plants that are close to the porch here are those sweet potato vines, and we know how quickly those grow and how resilient they are. So if a few of them get taken out by a little bit of vinegar, I'm not worried about it because they will grow back. So let's get to spraying. Also, make sure to wear eye protection. I've got these plastic safety glasses here that I'm gonna put on because you don't wanna get vinegar in your eyes. All right, so now that everything has sat for about 15 minutes, we can use the grout brush to come in and scrub it off. You can see all of the mildew here. Look at that. It is all gone. I'm telling you, it's amazing. Vinegar, diluted vinegar, is an amazing cleaning product. So for real stubborn areas like this, you can see there's still some of the mildew left. I'm gonna go in with just a second round and get off as much as I can. But you can see that it was a big improvement from what it looked like before. All right, so this has sat for about 15 minutes, so let's see if we can get more of it off. In some cases, it's just a little bit too set in, and you just gotta repaint. So it looks like I'm gonna have to do a little bit of repainting there, and then I really couldn't get a lot of the mildew off my columns. So this is what I was talking about on the columns. You can see not all of the mildew came off. There's still some peeking through, but that's fine. I'll just repaint these columns, but that will be a project for another day. I am, however, very happy with how the ceiling turned out. There's still a little bit of the mildew peeking through, especially over here where the joints meet the cross beam, but that's fine. It's a night and day difference. I'm really happy with how this turned out. So let me really quick get out the hose again. I'm gonna hose everything off and then we'll move on to grooming my plants. All right, so everything's all rinsed off. I think it looks so much better. You can see the ceiling here. Such an improvement. This is more or less what it looked like before. You can see I need to get in here and clean the beadboard ceiling in my carport, but with just a little bit of elbow grease, you can really make a huge difference. So while all this dries off, we can move on to grooming my plants. So like I said, these are the ones that I'm gonna groom and kind of trim back a little bit, remove some of the dead leaves and branches. These ones I'm gonna clear out completely, and then these ones I'm gonna leave alone. And then we will wrap up by washing all the furniture here real quick, and then we'll put everything back up on the porch. And I really wanna get this done soon because it looks like we've got some inclement weather coming in. So let's get to it. All right, all of these are looking a lot better. They're all cleaned up, groomed to perfection. The impatient plant here still has a long way to go, but give it 3 to 4 more weeks, it'll be beautiful again. And then my cactus here, I had to tie up. It's actually a bunny ears cactus, and because it's not in full sun, it's in shade, it's reaching for light, and I think it's kind of cool how tall these have grown, but they definitely needed some support, so I tied those up. And then here is everything that I cut off. I'm gonna throw this in the trash, and then we'll move on next and empty these containers. So this is a skull container that I had a fern in, and it was really cool because the fern looked like hair, but it is so root bound, I don't think I can actually get the roots out. I'm gonna have to play with this a little bit off camera to empty it, but I will get it cleaned up. And then for these ones, I'm just gonna rip all this out and I'll put in fresh soil when I'm ready to replant. So now we can move on to cleaning the furniture. I'm also gonna clean out these containers as well. So unfortunately it started to rain. It's a light rain, it's a little bit breezy. There hasn't been any thunder or lightning, so I think I'm just gonna continue working. If I hear thunder, I'm gonna pack it up. But you can see the rain's so light that this area underneath this tree is actually dry. So like I said, I'll pack it up if it starts thundering and lightning, but let's charge on. rungs are rotted, and unfortunately I just broke one. That's unfortunate. I need to get new rocking chairs for my front porch. These ones are about 10 years old, so they've lasted a while, but it's time for some new ones. So my hose doesn't reach my driveway, so I had to fill up the bucket a few times to rinse everything off. Let's really quick do these containers and then we'll set up the front porch again. So I'm gonna quickly put my porch back together for you all with just a snap of my fingers. Ready, set, go. So there we go. My porch is all put back together. I'm so thrilled with how this project turned out. I'm also thrilled that it stopped raining. Coming in a little closer, you can see how beautiful my plants are looking. I've got those 2 empty containers that are all ready for some new fall plantings. Coming over here, my pothos plants are all groomed, and then my impatient plant is still in recovery mode, but it is well on its way to rebounding. So again, I did this mainly for hurricane prep. Like I said, there's no named storm headed my way, but in the event that I'm in the crosshairs of an incoming tropical system later on this season, because September is the peak of hurricane season, my front porch is gonna be really easy to clear off in the event I need to move everything off the porch and into my carport here. This is where I store everything during hurricanes, up against the wall here, hurricanes and tropical storms. So yeah, I am so happy with how this turned out. I hope you guys heard that hawk screech. That was so loud. I hope the camera picked it up. It literally flew right over my house. That was so crazy. So that's gonna do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm so happy that I was able to proactively clean up my front porch. If you live in Florida or any hurricane-prone area, I highly suggest that you proactively clean up and prep any areas of your yard and garden that you can now, ahead of the peak of hurricane season. You'll definitely thank yourself in the event you find yourself in the path of any incoming tropical system later on this season. And lastly, if you haven't already done so, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons so you can hang out with me in future videos. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.